Good morning, friends. Again, I welcome you all for the next lecture on literature. Yesterday, we discussed what literature is and what the different types of literature are. In the last lecture, we discussed that everything which is written is called literature. And we also discussed that there are different definitions available to us. Various definitions of literature are available to us. Like we discussed in the last lecture, that when you were studying in first semester or second semester, we discussed that literature is the reflection of life and society. We also discussed that literature is the mirror to life and society. That means what? It means literature is something which gives an exact picture of what we live in our lives. It presents the reflection of what we see in our life and society. But if we take the opinion of a very famous critic, De Quincey, then according to him, everything which is written or printed is called literature. This is the view presented by De Quincey. According to him, anything which is printed, anything which is written is called literature. But then this idea presented by De Quincey poses a big question before the students of literature, because we all are the students of literature, and if we go with this definition that everything which is written is called literature, then it creates so many issues. Why? Because calendars are written or printed, timetables, magazines, newspapers, medical reports, dictionaries, Hamlet, Macbeth, the Bhagavad Gita, the Quran, the Bible, the Old Man and the Sea, Pygmalion, all these things are printed and written. So do we call them all literature? Do we call timetables as literature? Do we call newspapers and magazines as literature? And as the students of literature, are we supposed to study these newspapers? Are we supposed to study the medical reports and dictionaries and magazines? No. To answer this question, De Quincey has divided literature into two types. As we discussed in yesterday's lecture, that De Quincey said that there are mainly two types of literature: literature of knowledge and literature of power. Now the question is, what is literature of knowledge? According to him, the literature which gives us some information or some knowledge about any particular field is called literature of knowledge. Say for example, your calendars are printed, that's why they are called literature, but calendars fall in the category of literature of knowledge. Why? Because the calendars give us some knowledge, some information about the dates, about the days and dates, about the working days and holidays. Your timetables, your magazines, your newspapers, they are all called literature of knowledge. Why? Because they provide us with some information, nothing more than that. So, the first category, that is literature of knowledge, we are not supposed to study this literature of knowledge as a student of literature, because their job is simply to give some information. The second type of literature discussed by De Quincey is literature of power. And as we discussed yesterday, literature of power is that literature which provides us with some energy, some fuel, or some power to live our life in a better way. It has the capacity to change the mind and heart of a person. It has the power to change the mind and heart of any human being. Not only this, it has the true literature of power has the capacity to change the whole society, or sometimes the whole nation, or sometimes the whole culture. And that is called true literature. And that is the reason why the list that you can see on the screen here, like Hamlet, like Macbeth, the Bhagavad Gita, the Quran, the Bible, all such literature is literature of power. Why? Because it has the power to move the heart of a person. As I told you yesterday, in Sanskrit it is said that sa vidya ya vimuktaye. Sa vidya ya vimuktaye means this is the knowledge, or this is the literature which makes you free, which makes you free from ignorance, which makes you free from the evils. Literature has the power to change the mind and heart of a human being. It makes a man a human being, or it makes a society a better society. And that is the reason why at the end of my yesterday's lecture, I told you that literature has a very important role to play in the society. The authors, the writers have a very important role to play in the society. Why? Because their pen, their paper has the power. And that is why it is called the literature of power. I remember Satanic Verses. Satanic Verses was written by Khushwant Singh. It is a long narrative poetry written by a Pakistani Muslim poet, Khushwant Singh. Sorry, not Khushwant Singh, but Salman Rushdie. Satanic Verses, when they were published by Salman Rushdie, then it brought about a havoc in the society. So literature has that power, but it was a negative effect of the literature. At the same time, you take the examples of Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita, which was written before 5,000 years, has the power to change the mind of the person in today's times. A man living in 21st century is also inspired by the sayings of Bhagavad Gita, by the sayings of the Bible or the Quran. So my point is, literature has that power, or it gives us some energy to live, to make this life a better life. Moving further, today we want to discuss some of the important characteristics of literature. Here you can see some of the important characteristics on your screen. The first and the most important characteristic is universality. Every true literature must have the quality of universality. Universality means what? It appeals to everyone. It appeals everywhere. It appeals in all ages. It appeals to all geographical situations. Take for example Macbeth, which was written during 16th century. Macbeth, which was written before so many years in England, is now read by the people in today's times. That means what? True literature is read in all times. Bhagavad Gita was written before some 5,000 years. It was read and it appealed the people in those times. It is read and it appeals the people in today's times, and it is going to appeal the people in the times to come. True literature is for all times. True literature has no boundaries. It has no geographical barriers. The piece of literature which is written in America is read in India, is read in Japan, is read in Australia. It has no geographical barriers. Or a work of art which appeals a young man also appeals an old man. This is called universality. So friends, if you want to check it out whether a particular work of art is universal or not, then you need to check this particular element, whether it appeals everyone, whether it appeals all times, whether it appeals in all ages, whether it appeals in all countries, whether it appeals to all cultures. And if the answer is yes, you may say that yes, this is the true work of art. You may say that it has the element of universality in it. Another important characteristic of literature is